Hello and welcome back to my final review for The Last of Us Season 2. We have finally made it to episode 7, the end of the season. So, does this episode go out on a high, or does it leave us for 2 years with a bad feeling inside? So let's talk about episode 7, and does it work as a finale for the season? So, episode 7 adapts to the final day of Ellie from the game. This is day 3. And it shows Ellie at her darkest moments, and Ellie finally reuniting, become face to face again with Abby. This episode does a lot, and this episode does have some big moments. If you're looking for a big action heavy finale, this episode doesn't have it. There are no infected. We haven't seen infected since episode 5. So this episode is lacking in infected, and it is also lacking in action scenes. We do see a lot of stuff going on, but it's always in the distance or away from Ellie. We hear about Tommy in a shootout with a bunch of wolves. We never see it. And then we have the island where it's blown up. Ellie's just driving away. We do see a lot of stuff. It's just from a distance, and it's basically teasing for season 3, because all these things will be told in the Abby-centric season 3. It is a little annoying because it leads this episode being very lackluster. I get the point. They want Ellie to be this random element in this war, and you have the war going on, Ellie's just trying to do her own thing. And it is teasing like, okay, all these events will happen again, so we will see these characters again, even though some characters who aren't around anymore by the end of the episode, we're going to see them again. But we're waiting 2 years for that. That's a little annoying. This episode is a bit forgettable, okay? And talking about it, I watched the episode maybe 2 hours ago. I'm struggling to remember what happens in the episode. So there's no infected. Tommy is not in the episode until the end. It's just Jesse and Ellie walking to find Tommy. Tommy's not there. Hear the shootout. Ellie then sees the pier and is like, okay, Jesse, bye. There's a little spat between them. And then Ellie walks to the pier. It's torrential downpour. She sees a boat. Big action. No, she kind of sits there, watch them all go off to war, steals a boat, and then they do change some things from the game, and that is that Ellie ends up on the island, and this is the most pointless scene in the entire episode. She ends up on the island, the Seraphites find her, they're about to lynch her. Oh, the village is under attack. They drop her, she then leaves the island within 3 minutes. What was the point of changing the source material so that Ellie would end up on the island just for nothing to happen? I think it was there so they could be like, oh look, something interesting is going to happen in season 3. This is all this episode does. Something interesting is going to happen next episode. And it's like, well, we're going to wait 2 years. Or not next episode, actually. The way they're looking at it, I probably think 6 episodes of season 3. We ain't going to see any of these events until episode 5 or 6 of season 3. So we're going to wait 2 years. And we're probably going to be forgetting about all the build-up this episode does for events that we're not going to see. And that's what really annoys me. This episode is paced well. If this episode was built up for another episode, it would be great, but it's built up for a 2-year wait, which really makes this episode suck as a standalone in my opinion. This episode is going to be so forgettable, because we're going to wait 2 years and we're going to forget that Ellie was there, Ellie was here, oh, Tommy was doing this. All these references we're not going to remember in 2 years' time, and this episode is not going to be remembered. This episode really is a lot of nothing. If I think about it, I did start very positive, or a bit more positive at the start of the review, saying a lot happens in this episode. And think about it, maybe not. It's just a lot of walking, a lot of talking, a lot of Jesse being like, I need to get back to my family. I'm going to be a father. And that amounts to nothing, because that's really what this episode is. And there's even the one bit where there's a big moment. I prefer the game version. And this is probably the first time I've openly said it. I've always been like, I feel like they're blundering, but I haven't openly said, I think the game did it way better. And it's definitely the death of Owen and Mel. In the game, it's way more tragic. I didn't like how they have changed Ellie throughout the season in this episode, with her feeling guilt about Nora, and now her going to the death and killing of Mel and Owen. I thought they are definitely trying to overcorrect with Ellie and make her way too sympathetic. The point of Mel's death in the game, it wasn't an accident, she did it on purpose, and it was to show Ellie went too far. When she rolls Mel over and finds out she's pregnant after she died, it's meant to be this turning point for Ellie, and meant to be for her to be like, I want to go home. However, in the show, they have Ellie like that at the start of this episode, and then she's like, okay, let's get Tommy and go home, and then she flip-flops back to, let's go kill Abby. Ellie is very flip-floppity, and I don't like the inconsistency of Ellie in this episode. She's been very inconsistent throughout the entire season, but this episode, Ellie is the most inconsistent possible. She's going from, I feel guilty about this, I want to go home, oh, let's see this, we're going to do this, oh, I feel guilty again. It feels pointless. Ellie was just going around in circles throughout this episode, emotionally wise, and I just don't like the death of Mel and Owen has been changed so that Ellie isn't seen as a monster. Well, the point of the game by episode 3 was to show Ellie as a monster. They are removing the point of the game, and it's weird I am defending The Last of Us Part 2. I am not really a mega fan of the game, but why am I defending it? Because I feel like the show is ruining it. This episode is probably maybe, I would say my second least favorite, maybe my least favorite episode at this point, just because of how forgettable it is. I hated episode 3, but at least I can remember it, and there are some moments in that episode. This episode is a lot of, oh, this is happening, oh, this is happening, oh, here's the ending with Abby, and we get a cliffhanger which we're not going to get answered until the end of season 3, which means episode 7 of season 2 and probably the end of season 3 are going to have the same cliffhanger, so we're going to wait 4 years to find out what happens to Ellie, and it really does suck, and it makes sense why Caitlin Denver, the actor who plays Ellie, said she can't remember her final scene in season 2 because it's very forgettable. She just stands there, shouts at Ellie, and then cuts to black, and that was a very anticlimactic ending for a very lackluster episode. If this was a penultimate episode, it would be great because it would be building up to all the events that happen in the final episode, but we're waiting 2 years, and potentially because they're going to go back 3 days to show what Abby did for those 3 days, we won't find out the ending of this cliffhanger until the end of season 3. This is probably the worst cliffhanger we've got in years. This is way worse than The Walking Dead's very infamous season 6 cliffhanger. You need to wait the summer to find out what happened next. This is 2 years and an entire season to find out what happens next. It's really annoying, and I know they're trying to stay loyal to the games with the structure, but if you're staying loyal with the structure, why the hell are you changing so many little things around, like Ellie going to the island to do nothing? Having this scene removed, having that scene removed. Why putting all of Joel's flashbacks into one episode? It really annoys me, and overall, I would say my conclusion of this episode would say it's a forgettable episode. I'm not going to remember this episode in a couple months, maybe a couple days. I barely remember the episode 3 hours after watching the episode, and I would give this maybe a 3.5 out of 10. It is the worst episode of The Last of Us we have got. It is going to be so forgettable, and this episode changes so much and makes you really question Ellie. Be like, what is going on? Like, you keep flip-flopping. It is just a very annoying episode, and I really dislike this episode. How this is just my personal opinion, so please tell me down below. What did you think about the final episode of The Last of Us Season 2? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Please tell me down below. This is it for me today, so goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you later.